recently, Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer came out and said that the Tea Party, the people that they sent to Congress, are the reason the budget is being stalled. And how would you respond to that?
Well, the first thing I did, I laughed. If they seriously think they can convince the American people that the Tea Party is stalling the budget and poised to shut the government down, this has been something that has been the plan and the strategy and the voice now strategy of Democrats since at least last December, when Democrats agreed to a continuing resolution that extended funding from through the fiscal year up till March 4th. That was the signal that they plan to use their leverage to shut the government down and put the conservatives through this. So now the House Republicans have 3 times provided the resources to keep the legitimate functions of government running, and 3 times the Senate has failed to produce a counter proposal or an offer. They haven't passed anything over there except the 2 short stopgap pieces. So that's what their strategy is. They think they can shut the government down. By the way, Harry Reid, Chuck Schumer, and also Howard Dean are all right now, they're shields, proxies, and mouthpieces for the president. The president is behind all this. He's back behind the curtain. He doesn't want to come out and be held accountable, but it's this. They plan to shut the government down. I say this, put the resources out there for the conservative, responsible function of government, but no funding for Obamacare. And let the president decide if all of the functions of government mean less to him than his signature legislation, then let him be the one that faces the wrath of the American people.
Recently, Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer came out and they blamed the freshman Republicans in Congress that the Tea Party sent to Washington for blocking the budget. And how would you respond to those accusations?
Senator Reid's perspective is so far off, it's pathetic. People can't understand the relationship between $33 billion and $61 billion and numbers like that. But if you were a family and you were overspending your budget by $16,000, do you think that fixing it by cutting your spending by $610 would make much difference? That's the size, the relationship between H.R. 1 and the deficit this year. For Senator Reid to be saying that $610 out of $16,000 is too draconian a cut just shows his loss of perspective.
Wait a minute, we've got to call in an expert and look at your income and your outgo.
There are things that are negotiable, but principles are not negotiable.
So the number's not negotiable. What is negotiable?
Well, there are a lot of things in the bill that that could be negotiated, but as far as keeping our word, that's not negotiable.
Name something specifically that you would negotiate.
Are you saying that if the CR doesn't defund totally the healthcare law, like you said, with the automatic spending, that's not negotiable? You won't vote for
there are different ways to do that. Jack Kingston came up with a great approach that simply does what should have been done. And Jack says, you know, he's talked to some on the Senate and even Democrats who had said, you know, it really isn't right for one majority to post-date checks that bind future majorities from the other party, because it works both ways. We see that the majority changes hands, and so I think Jack's has come up with an idea and a way to say, okay, we're not going to cancel the Obamacare bill, but this year what we will do is say we're canceling all those checks. So it would have
105 that Congress talks about.
And so it will cancel those post-dated checks, and it actually cancels anything that hadn't already been spent, and will require for the future Congresses to actually appropriate the money. Now, there's some conservatives who might say, well, gee, though, that does leave the door open for future Congresses to refund Obamacare. Well, no, that leaves the future open to have different majorities. If a different majority comes in and they want to create an even more devastating to health care bill than Obamacare bill is, they'll be in the majority and they can do that. But we got the majority this time based on our promises, and we ought to keep them. It's just that simple.
Are there any writers?
Any writers? Well, like
Planned Parenthood.
Well, but I don't consider that a rider. That's a part of the bill we sent over.
What do you think about people who say holding the country hostage to
Oh, no. We're not holding the country hostage to those. We're not holding the country hostage. We're trying to cut spending so that we can save the country. You want to blame us after we cut spending and save the country from having to announce what the Soviet Union did years ago, that we're broke, nobody will loan us more, we can't print it fast enough, we're out of business. You want to blame us for saving the country because we're cutting spending, then go ahead and blame us, but that's what we need to do. But thank you.
Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer came out and blamed the freshman Republicans in Congress that the Tea Party sent to Washington for stalling the budget. And how would you respond to that?
For sullying the budget?
Stalling the budget.
Oh, stalling the budget. Well, I don't think the freshmen get all the credit, but they get an awful lot of credit. Look, I understand that Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer and liberals in the Senate are trying to play politics, trying to assign blame. But we're actually facing a fiscal crisis at the national level of unprecedented proportions. The American people know that. All the denunciations or the attempts to marginalize Tea Party voters is not going to change the fact that the American people want to see us take a strong stand to change the fiscal direction of this government.
I want to ask you, how do you think you can avoid a shutdown at this point? What's got to happen?
Again, you're asking the wrong person. Ask Harry Reid, ask the president. We've had a budget, a continuing resolution on the table for a month, 40 days ago. 4:40 in the morning, we voted over there to fund the government and cut the government. Harry Reid hasn't said boo to us.
If the Senate passed a $30 billion, where would you guys go from there?
It's so, if the Senate, I want the Senate to do something. Do something.
Okay, it's not theoretical. They're talking about a deal that's going to cut $33 billion. They have to figure out the riders. Is that a number you could accept?
It is theoretical. I don't think they're talking about degree. Our leadership right now has been talking among themselves. Look, we came here to cut spending. We came here to do what we did 40 days ago, which was $100 billion less than what the president proposed today. And yeah, it included riders to defund Obamacare and defund the EPA. Those mean a lot.
But are you saying that leadership aides from the two sides are not talking? I mean, are you denying that there are even negotiations going on?
What have they put on the table? What does the other side put it? How do you know that? How do you know that? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't know that. Here's the deal. Hopefully they're going to start talking, because this is like, the train's left the station. It left the station with these people a year ago. House Republicans got on board 40 days ago. And the president has no clue, and the Senate Democrats are finally, I think, starting to realize they better get on the train.
Have RSC members have gotten together and sort of started staking out where they're going to be on this? Have freshmen?
Absolutely. The RSC right now is the driving force in the House. The job of the RSC is to keep Republicans doing what Republicans need to do. And they have been champions in this fight in gently pushing our party where we need to be.
And Harry Reid blamed freshman Republicans that he said the Tea Party sent to Washington for selling the budget. And how would you respond to that?
Harry Reid, it's real clear, Harry Reid wants a shutdown. I'll say that again. Harry Reid wants a shutdown. It's the only way he wins this game. All they're doing is playing politics. You may disagree with where we stand, but we're out there. We took a stance. We put our necks out there. Harry Reid, Chuck Schumer, these guys want a shutdown. Why? Because they want the Republicans to be the bad boys. That's their only plan.
So participating in these negotiations,
Pardon me?
participating in these negotiations, is John Boehner doing the right thing?
Absolutely.
Talking about compromise?
Absolutely. John Boehner's had his hand out asking for someone to talk to him for the last few weeks. So if they're talking to him, wonderful. And it's his job to do what the American people sent Republicans to Congress to do, and that's to cut spending. And that's what we're going to do.
If what $100 billion is, if that's
$100
billion, if that's absolutely the number. And if Mr. Boehner comes to me and says we can't get $100 billion, we can only get 50 or 60. Why is that not enough?
Doing one of these events and coming up after.
I can't wait to get to that point. We're not there. I can't wait to get to that point. That means that the Senate Democrats are talking and they're serious. That'd be great. I would love to get to that point where we look at a real serious number that we came together on. I think it'd be wonderful.
So you are ready to compromise then?
I am not ready to compromise on what the American people sent us here to do, and that is major spending cuts. We've got our proposal on the table. What we cut this year is going to be that number or darn close to that number. I just can't wait to see what the other side puts forward.
Now, you said that the train has left the station. Is that because you've taken the trains off of the budget?
No, that's because these people back here sent us to Washington. If the American people liked what's been going on in the last 2 years, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you.
Yesterday was about the subsidy for Amtrak. Is that on or off the table?
Everything's on the table.
So you're willing to take that away?
Oh, absolutely. Everything's on the table.
I think the American people sent a very clear message in November. We're sending a clear message. Let's stop the spending insanity. You know, we're spending too much money. We've got $1.5 trillion excess spending this year. It's our third year in a row that we've had an excess of $1 trillion. That means deficit. That means we're borrowing 42 cents of every dollar we spend in this country. And we got a $14 trillion debt. Listen, it's time to cut the spending, start building surpluses, and paying back some of this debt. It's about the future of our children. That's what I came to fight for.
Shutdown is looming. What's your message to the message to the Tea Parties all over the country?
Harry Reid came out and said that mainly the freshman Republicans that the Tea Party sent to Washington were to blame for the budget being stalled. And how would you respond to that?
Well, I think that Harry Reid should be blamed for the fact that we've had, $5 trillion plus of new debt, these record deficits. So, the whole thing about what's happening up here in D.C., people want to play games. People want to, try to maneuver for their own political gain, and the American people are sick and tired of that. And, for 22 years I served in uniform. I didn't let the American people down. I'm not going to do it now.